Hey guys, Rick Malero here with This Capital, and today we're hanging out in our Tampa office with some amazing people. So we have Daniel from our team, we have Heather and Shannon, and all of us have been involved in real estate. But what I really want to talk about today is specifically some of our experiences, because everybody in this table here has actually invested actively, and that's really what we want to share with you guys today. Some stories and insights about the real deals that we've done that could help you to grow your business and be successful, and also to avoid making mistakes, because I can tell you from experience, we've made many of those. So with that said, why don't we start with the beautiful ladies on the other side. You guys can think of maybe an example of a project you worked on recently that,
Okay, so are we talking about like the biggest mistakes I've made, or the best money I've, what do you
let's start with the good news.
The good news? Okay, the good news is I think one of the times I made the most money, because that's what we're all trying to do here, right, is get a high return, is when I definitely went ahead and pushed the market. Right now, it's honestly something you can still do, and a lot of people are afraid of it, but I think it's still capable if you do it right and you execute well. If you produce a product, it's going to be consistent. If you produce a good product in this market and in the next market where it's harder to sell, you're still a solid buyer, or still a solid project that people are going to want to buy. So just go ahead and start turning out high quality material now.
So that brings a really good example, because you're talking about high quality product, but chances are most people that are watching may not fully understand that. So when you're talking about the different finishes, because I know exactly what you're talking about,
Right.
Why don't you describe, for example, a kitchen or a part of the house that you've been working on that makes your product so nice, right? So much higher level that you can push
Something
the
that
price.
you can actually do relatively inexpensively, especially now that wood is a little bit less, is you can wrap your islands. Everyone wants a two-tone kitchen. We all know that white cabinets are the cheapest thing to buy. Wrap it in wood and paint it or stain it and make a custom-looking island without having to pay the custom price.
Awesome,
Yeah,
I love
you guys
that.
get really big islands.
Yeah,
too,
I
for
do big
much-
islands if I can, yes.
Do the sinks and all that stuff in the center of the island
Yeah,
as
if
well?
it allows for it. I had a house in St. Pete that we just did a butcher block on, like a waterfall butcher block. Not any cheaper than stone though. It looks
Really?
really good.
It was
It's not
really
that
pretty.
much. It's not that much cheaper.
pretty.
Not when you're buying like cheaper stone.
We did a good
flipping.
job on
Yeah.
the St. Pete house.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good.
we had to be creative. Why don't you talk about that deal as well?
Well, yeah, we definitely had to be creative on that one there. That pool was a little scary.
Oh,
and
no.
sad.
It was
Is the
bad.
pool still there? Did we have to
It was still there. We went back and forth probably about 2 months on what we were going to do, if we were going to fill it or fix it. But I mean, second story, you could see the ocean. I mean, it was beautiful. So having a pool in that area was,
Right.
it was.
Do you think you got your return on fixing it?
Yeah, I think we did. I think we did
Didn't we,
pretty
we
well.
even, if I remember correctly, we had to close one of the doors and then close it because of the fact that if you stepped out, you were right in the water. It was
Yeah.
like horribly done.
Oh, no.
So we
Yeah.
basically enclosed the room to
Right.
make a bigger space in order to compensate for the fact that,
Well, I'm glad that solution was there.
Yeah.
Just like close in and there was another door to get out.
Yeah, because if not, then, we had to fill it. What was that, 15 grand to fill it? with
well, yeah, it
concrete?
was a big deal because,
Also being right next to the water, I'm sure there's all types of like ordinances, and those are things that people don't think about when they're investing. The laws are different, and just from half a mile away, if you're on the water versus on the other side, what you can and cannot do by your municipality is you need to be educated in that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we look into, because if we weren't able to fix the pool, there was not enough room back there to redo
Yeah.
that. There
Right.
was not enough room to redo a pool.
Yeah.
When you say room, you mean room on the deal, or
Like through the easements and stuff
Okay,
like that.
absolutely.
For the property
space
lines. Because it was
itself.
an older house, so I mean, it had been there, and
Right.
it was one of those things that we had to get it fixed and redo it and go
how
from
much
there.
did that cost you? Is it closed? Can we talk about how much it cost?
Yeah, it's
no, it's closed.
Okay.
It's closed. Thank God it's closed. That was definitely one of those interesting deals. Actually, the backstory behind that is it was a client of ours that we funded,
Okay.
and they wanted us to be joint venture partners. And I mean, the property area was right.
Yep.
The problem is the contractor they had didn't fulfill, which is the biggest issue in most of our space today. And so long story short, we had to come in and find another group to actually pick up the slack, finish the rehab,
Redo it.
complete everything else just about. And, but also because of that, we were very, very tight on our budget. And so we really had to be very selective. So we had to really focus on the kitchen. We updated the bathrooms. There was one that unfortunately we didn't have enough room to just redo the bathroom.
Right.
And so
Did
of
you
course,
spray it, or-
we ended up
Yeah.
respraying
Yeah.
it, changing the color.
Well, right now, honestly, I've been seeing people leave the bright tiles.
I
Like the
was
things,
going
those
to.
are coming back where people want the bright pink and green bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into it personally, but not everyone is. But if you can stylize it the right way, if it's the
Yeah,
right
you put
house.
some pink ones or colored ones down at the bottom. or
Yeah,
so-
especially, I mean, we're here in Florida, you know, flamingo is king, you know, stuff.
Yeah.
I was
A little
going to
bit
keep
of
my
bright.
tile.
I
but
would.
My
I've kept my
whole
tile
bathroom
before.
came out. And my floor.
I had the intention of keeping tile in a bathroom until we got the plumbing inspection back, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep the tile.
It's like, oops.
Not gonna work.
Now we're replumbing the house.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing on mine too.
I was just gonna ask Heather, you're working on a flip right now, so why don't you talk about the deal? How'd you get it? What's the numbers? And obviously, I know you're gonna do some
I
upgrades to
actually
it.
got it. I bought it. Somebody wholesaled it, and within Outfast, like we have a group text and posted it, and I wanted it, so that was pretty much that. I went and walked through it. Definitely had the idea of turning it from a 2-1 to a 3-2.
Okay.
There was already space in the back, so because that space was already there and I was able to keep it, it had plumbing in the back room. There just wasn't, there's no shower. That's the only thing that is missing, so that's not a big deal. But then, as we got further into the project, we knew that the house had some settling issues. It was just from an old leak, but it's much worse than we expected. So luckily, I try to build in a budget for, stuff that you find. So
Yep.
The
so-
guaranteed miscellaneous.
yes, I
You
had
somehow
quite
always go over.
Yeah.
I had quite a
Always.
surprise on Friday when I went there, and before I just had like a section of my kitchen missing and a section of the bathroom. The
You're
bathtub was
talking
still
about
in
the
there.
subfloors.
Yeah.
Right.
And I walked in on Friday, and I have no floors in my kitchen, dining room. The whole bathroom's gone. No more tub, no more anything. So that was scary to see, but it's getting done the right way. So
Right.
Good stuff.
That's important too, because once it goes through inspection, also the
Right,
last
I
thing
don't
you
want
want is
any
to rip
issues.
something back up.
Right. Yeah. You get
I'm
it
also
under
in
contract.
county versus city, so county goes a little bit slower with everything. So I don't want any issues with inspections because it's going to take me longer to
Right.
get everything okay.
That's awesome.
You don't want to go under contract and then have to fix something and
Right.
piece it together.
Well, I take the
Yeah.
contract based off of my money in. There might
Yep.
be a contract that's for less money. It's a cash offer, which we're seeing a lot of right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot more guaranteed. It's going to sell faster. Well, now all of a sudden I'm under contract and it's a $15,000 foundation repair. Well, I probably would have taken the conventional loan if I I would be making the same amount of money.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's still going to take me just as long because now I have to
Just
fix
as
the
long.
foundation. I didn't save any time.
Yeah.
So if I have
Yeah.
a hard money loan, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I
I
just
agree.
lost my profits.
Yeah, it makes it that much more difficult. That's why it is essential to have the right team and also always budget for just in case, because usually,
Something
It happens.
And
Just in
It
case is
happens more
always.
often than not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think I've never not opened up a house and said, I'm no surprises.
Yeah.
yeah, which actually leads to the next segment I was going to bring up. So obviously, when we're doing renovations, you had a great point. You went to a market that's competitive. You found a house that you could actually add either square footage or another bedroom and bathroom, which automatically increases the value of the property. But in this market, and when you're really busy and scaling, for me, for example, like we're doing so many deals, to be babysitting every single rehab job is just not efficient at all.
No.
And so, and you know, because
Well, I
you've
lost my hair.
All this year.
Yeah.
all
The
this
beginning
year.
of the year. Already
overnight.
It's only January.
overnight, right? But also now because of where we are in the stage of the real estate cycle, it's about building homes. It's about finding those lots,
Yep.
doing infill, and really being able to kind of use like your creative ideas, incorporating it in actual style homes, call them semi-custom homes.
Right.
But because of where the market is, it is a very profitable endeavor. And I think it's a lot easier because you don't have to worry about babysitting or dealing with the headaches that come with the rehabs when you open up a wall and find a leak or some other issue that was holding
Right.
back.
Right. It's also, like you said, it's also your ability to scale. You control a lot more of the scenario in that
Right.
situation. You should kind of have, before you break ground, a pretty good idea what you're going to spend. It doesn't usually change from there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
And then you got stages because you're laying your slab, you're putting drywall
Yeah,
up.
it's all
So you're
predictable.
seeing all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go into purchase a house, you don't know what's behind those walls.
Yeah, especially when you're buying it without
I
an
should have
inspection
scrapped mine
period.
and
And
rebuilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
how we buy homes. We don't buy homes like normal people.
Yeah.
We're like,
No.
yeah, that number sounds good. I haven't been inside of it, but
Yeah.
when's the last time you bought a property like sight unseen?
I just sold one completely sight unseen over FaceTime.
Okay.
So that was investors. They wanted to get out of the cold. So I did my buyer consult over the phone on the 9th. On the 11th, I showed them the first property that we decided on and did that over FaceTime, 3 different parties, and made a contract that night. had to have it inspected with an engineer and like read over all this litigation stuff that was going on with the HOA. Resolved all of those issues, and then we just closed yesterday. So
That's
2
awesome.
weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, love
So-
technology, right?
Yeah.
In a new era.
Nice.
Brand new era for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, and one of the things I like too, like we were just at today, one of our properties that we built, but when you have new construction, you have at least renders or something. You can be
Right.
pre-selling the property before the house is built. And I love the fact that I can do that and be able to move on to the next property.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it's
even
a-
with flipping, like, I don't want people walking through my house when it's just a project and trying to visualize what's going on. Like, I don't have those types of renderings or anything
Right.
like that.
You can
so-
though. When
You can.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. I usually have like, but I'm that type A planner. Like I
Yes.
know what's
Mm-hmm.
on each wall and what's going. So you can share that.
Yeah.
I've sold properties like that with sharing. Like here's what we're planning on doing.
Yeah.
So it is something you can create for yourself if you're not in the completely new build like
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, true.
You can.
Or you just create a book, and every time somebody's just like, look, this is what I've done. These are 15 houses that I've done.
Yeah.
With all
Right.
these different walls.
But you don't
and
get to
things.
pick and choose.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm
you
not
don't get to
a-
pick and choose. You just get to
Just
say
letting you
thumbs up
know.
or thumbs down,
Yeah.
right? That's what you get. That's what you get.
I love it. I
Two
love
different
it.
colors.
It's funny. So just for like, for the standpoint of an audience watching, especially overseas, investors that are going to be looking at this and just trying to think about what should I be doing, what would you guys recommend? We'll start with you and we'll just kind of go down the list of what type of investments do you think are most efficient here in Tampa Bay?
In the real estate
Yeah.
field, anything that's nailed to the ground.
Yeah, like literally
Inflation-
anything that you can find.
Yeah, inflation is just a thing right now. I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah,
That's what I
everybody's
would be
looking
doing.
for like properties to Airbnb here. People are like, just paying for stuff that's
I
already
love-
rehabbed
yeah.
and they're investors. So they're not.
I mean, it's personally, I love single family homes for especially investors who aren't necessarily here. They're a lot easier to liquidate.
Yes.
They move a lot faster. You've got a lot more larger buyer pool. When you buy multifamily spaces, it's harder to sell. So when you're in a position that you want to do that, you can liquidate 10 single families a lot easier than you can an apartment complex with 10 doors.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I like that
HOA and
aspect.
stuff, too.
I'm with you.
I agree.
I like the single-family homes
Yep.
as well.
Personally.
Yep.
Especially like it's different if you're able here to manage that space, but from overseas, it's just a very easy, solid investment.
I agree.
Yeah.
Tons of Airbnbs now.
Oh,
Yep.
so many.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
many, yeah.
Absolutely.
I love our Airbnbs. Our
Yeah.
Airbnbs are cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, so I think even for those investors that are thinking more passively, what can I do? When you really think about it, in this particular market, like you guys said, pretty much it makes sense to buy anything that will have an income or that you have the ability to exit as quickly as possible.
Right.
With inflation the way it is, a lot of people were saying, well, Rick, why would I buy? You're at the peak of the market. But they forget that literally based on population growth, we had 5 million homes that we needed to build. We've only built 2.3.
Right.
Right.
And now we're starting a new year. There's at least another million homes, so we're still basically behind the 8 ball. And as long as we're within that stage, this is the perfect time to strike and buy something that makes sense. What I tell people is learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. So why don't we start with Danny? Talk about maybe a deal that didn't go so well. What did you learn from it, and what is something that an investor can learn from that experience?
Well, one of the worst deals that I had was just doing one on myself, and I figured I could do it all myself. And realizing that I need the skilled workers, plumbers, electricians.
Oh, you were going to be doing everything.
I was going to
That's
do it all myself.
exhausting.
Is that the
That's a
house that
lot.
you were doing the floors and everything?
Yes, I
I
could have
remember
walked
that.
for 2 days, I mean, it was nice that I got my hands wet and figured it all out, but I realized that my time is valuable. I can't do that type of work. I can't put it all together. I was probably costing myself double what it would cost
So
somebody
that'll never
to
be
do.
passive for you. You're
Yeah.
never going to
Right.
like.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, then you do it all yourself. You get too attached to it.
Right.
Right.
I was like, oh, I'll never let it go. So no, that's it.
Or
So
someone comes in to do an inspection and they start giving their 2 cents, and now it's your baby.
now I'm getting really personal. And I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, you take it a little
Yeah.
too far. So I think the right team in place is going to be the best bet for anyone that's going to try to flip or try to get some passive income.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
great advice.
Yeah.
That's great advice, especially if you're going to be virtual. To try to manage
Yeah.
that all on your own is it's nuts.
What are those interview processes for you? You're going to interview someone virtually, who a lot of these people might be doing. What are some of the questions that you're going to ask them? What are really important?
Well, what they're looking for, what areas, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1 bath.
I think she's talking about the contractor though.
Yeah, I'm talking about
How do
the
you
team.
vet-
Oh, the
Yeah.
contractor. So I mean, it's stuff out there right now. So
A lot of
I liked
referrals.
a lot of
Yeah.
referrals.
I was just gonna say.
If somebody's working and they're like, oh, I'm really busy on this job, I'm like, fantastic. Guess what? I'm showing a house in that area. I'm going to show up so I can see what type of work you're doing.
Right.
Right. AC guys, you just kind of hear from them, like, how quick is the turnaround?
Right.
You know,
I agree.
are they leaving? We went in the property today, and I was like, you know what? This crew's pretty good. And Rick's like, what? I was like, there's no cigarette butts all over the place.
Yeah.
You know,
Just
it's
about to say,
clean.
how do they treat your home?
Yeah, exactly. When I'm not there, you know,
Right.
so it was good to see that type of workmanship today. So
Yep.
Hold on to them. That's a valuable
yeah,
asset.
Absolutely. And I think when you're working on a bigger deal, one of the things we've talked about it is, you know, having a circle of people that you know, asking for referrals is really important. But then especially when you're working on a bigger project, I've always just, after many years of doing this, I now hire a third-party company to vet these people. And it does two things for me. The first thing it does is it kind of removes my emotional attachment to that person.
Right.
And then this company knows how to vet these people. They'll come back with a 12-point report that tells you this person has the ability, they have the resources, they're insured, and they have the capacity to do a project this big. And these are the last 10 projects that we've seen in public record, so I don't have to deal with it. But the other part is whenever I send that paperwork to them, I say, look, our firm has to verify who you are and do with their background.
Right.
So by the time we go to actually sign an agreement to do business, they know that we mean business.
yeah.
And so it eliminates a lot of that, oh man, I need your help. Can you give me half of a draw this week? Has this happened? We just say, look, it's not my fault, but this third-party company has to go vet the work.
Right.
They're the ones that tell us yes or no, and it just kind of removes us from that
I love what you said
aspect
about
of it.
removing the emotional aspect, 'cause this is a people's business, right? So we all do business with our friends. This is something
Right.
we talked about earlier. And being able to be in that perspective. I would hire a third, if I could afford to right now at this point in my career, I would hire someone to do that for every person in my life, including my friends.
I love it. I love it.
Next business.
That's it. Put it on the list. We'll put that one on the list. So Heather, talk about maybe an experience you had, a mistake you made, or something you learned that an investor can learn. So that, because that was a really good point you made up.
Yeah, actually similar to Daniel's. The very first flip that we did, I used to be a painter. So I decided I wanted to stay on the job site to learn more and everything else. And well, like, I don't regret that part, but painting the inside and the outside of a house with everything else that was going on took a really long time. So I look back now and I would never do something like that just because of the time it takes away from everything else that I could be doing to generate a lot more money than
Yeah, your time
Painting
is
a
valuable.
house,
Start
so-
respecting that for
Yeah.
sure. Start
Yeah.
respecting
No,
your
you're
time.
right. You need to. You know, your time is valuable. You need to respect your time.
Yeah.
exactly.
100%.
And to bring that up to a value piece for investors, a lot of times they'll talk, especially if they've done deals in the past, and they'll say, Rick, when I invest in your fund, I know I can make more money on my money, but I always ask them, how much time are you getting paid for your time versus your return on your investment? Because at the end of the day, when we say we're investors, the whole idea is that we're letting our money do the work for us so we don't have to.
And that's
Right,
where
and so
returns
that's the
for
whole point, is
investment.
you have to separate your hours versus your dollars, and that really makes a big difference, and
Yeah,
that's a
now I
great
just go check
realization.
my flip like once a week.
Yeah,
I think it was a couple of years ago. I actually took down the money that I made that year and did a rough estimate, knowing my own life how many hours I was really working, and got really honest with myself. And I divided it up, and I said, "This is how much money I make an hour. And if I could pay someone to do a task, and it's less than that, then I pay someone
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
I agree.
'Cause I'm still making money
Yeah.
on that.
100% agree with that.
You probably doubled your income.
I haven't yet. I'll let you know after.
Okay.
this.
She's like, I'm working on it,
My
I'm working on
problem
it.
is I find ways. I take something off my plate and I always just put something right.
You
back
find
on
something
it.
else.
Yeah, I need to
Yeah.
get better at that one.
So Shannon, what we've already talked about some pretty interesting, again, your value of your time,
Right.
getting the right team involved so you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. What was a mistake that you made in the past that you felt somebody can really gain from?
How long do you have? I mean, some stupid decisions in real estate. I mean, I've luckily never lost money. I've walked away from a lot of money. I left a lot of money on the table by taking contracts too soon, especially in this market. I would advise anybody that you've got a really hot commodity, but I had great offers come in within 48 hours after we took a contract, because it was like, we want it, this is exactly, it's more than we thought we would get, still left money on the table.
I've done that before too.
Right.
So I think that, and then the other one is trust your gut. I don't care if it's your first flip, I don't care if it's your first home you've ever bought. If something doesn't feel right with you, listen to that.
Listen to it.
Find people, if something, hey, inspector, I don't know what this says on the report, I don't understand this. Hey, realtor, what does this legal jargon mean?
Yep.
Ask the questions and be willing to educate yourself, for sure, would be my
Yeah.
thing. If something doesn't feel right, pay
I think
attention.
that's a great point, just because I own an insurance business as well. And so many times I'll get realtors that'll call me and be like, hey, is this gonna work? Is this gonna pass? And I'm like, man, this is a mess. Like, why are you have 5 days for your inspection period. You're killing your buyers right now
Right.
because there's nothing on. The electric's in bad shape. There's
Can't
tons
pass
of
a
double
floor plan.
taps. You know, there's leaking underneath the sinks and stuff like that. And I love the fact that you're saying, hey, if you don't know something,
Right.
Yeah.
ask. It doesn't matter if
Right.
you're an adult or you're a kid, just ask somebody.
Yeah, be willing to ask.
Yeah.
Because most people in this business, we actually really love educating.
Yeah.
We all love
Yep.
to talk, right? We all love to talk about our successes.
Yep.
We have beers over our failures, and that's just kind of what it is.
Beers
I,
and tears.
Yeah.
I try to cry only at home.
Yeah, okay.
Try to cry only at home.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still crying over one right now, which you know because you helped me sell it. Golden Rule. It wasn't very golden.
839.
Yeah.
Brown House.
Yes, the Brown House.
it killed me.
Oh, no.
And
Sounds like-
that was a
Oh,
lesson.
I was gonna say.
That was a lesson that we learned the hard way, because this past year, while it's been great, we've had a lot of business, a lot of great success. We did so much volume that we weren't setting up the proper infrastructure. And actually, what made it worse, we were still transitioning technology. Now we're in a new platform. It's a lot easier to manage a lot more volume. But we were buying way more than we can handle as a team. And so it kind of got to the point where, because we were so busy, we have Danny and several other people working on all these other projects. I didn't even remember how many homes we owned. And so we actually had a contractor who we had never worked with before, takes on the project, and he takes it upon himself to do all the finishes and everything else. And because nobody's there
Right.
overseeing it, we get a brown house.
Inside was good.
It was not bad.
It was all right, but
But needless to say, there was a
Yes.
lot of things. We were over budget. There were so many issues that we could have been proactive about, but we weren't. And so at the end, when we sold it at a $20,000 loss.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting with these lessons is, you were like, oh,
I was
$5,000 I could do, but 20 grand, it hurts, right? And so I'm sitting here looking at it going, how in the world? I've been doing this crap for 20 years, and I just lost $20,000 because I was too busy and I bought too many homes. How embarrassing is that?
Right.
But it really comes down to the fact that you can never think that you are better because you've done so much business.
Right.
You have to stay humble, you have to stay hungry, and you have to make sure that each project that you have, somebody is overseeing it. Otherwise, it can go sideways real quick.
Make a plan.
And that was a perfect example. So we
was.
brought that deal back on the table. We analyzed it. Where were the holes in our game? What could we do better? And part of that was really pushing our technology so that now I can visualize where each project is, who's managing it, what is the timeline that we need to get it done, so that we avoid making these kind of mistakes. And so that's something I would highly encourage an investor to consider. Make sure you keep your eye on the ball. Make sure that you're working with people that are responsible and that aren't over leveraged with the work that they have. Because unfortunately, most of the contractors start good, but the moment you scale them up, that's when they break down because they don't have capacity.
Yeah, they don't have a system in place.
They don't.
And you don't have a system to check on them. So
Exactly.
It's a tumble.
Yeah, and I'll even give you a
Travel.
visual. This blew my mind. So like, for those that don't know, I lived in a community called Reunion Resort, beautiful community. There's a lot of short-term rentals because it's literally right next to Disney.
Okay.
Beautiful place. I mean, it's one of the few communities that you can build a $5 million house and it makes like $1 million a year in short-term rental. It's crazy. So everybody's out doing themselves. Well, there was this builder there whose name is Triton, and he was doing business before the crash. Well, during the crash, obviously, they ran out of business, so they were trying to be creative. So they were doing construction, but they were just doing 1 or 2 homes a year. But those 1 or 2 homes were $2.3 million, right? So these are mega wealthy people, so they're making several $100,000 a house. Well, these guys weathered the crash. They started coming on top, and on average, they were doing about 8 to 10 properties. We got on the scene, and we built 2 homes with them, which was fantastic work. So I'm thinking, these guys are about to crush it. They're the best name. Everybody knows them in this community. They're going to have all the jobs. The very next year, sure enough, they went from 8 projects on average to 25. Within 6 months, they went bankrupt and lost everything.
Yeah.
And we're sitting here going, are you kidding me? They started underbidding, overestimating certain things. Your crews couldn't keep up. And before you know it, their entire empire collapsed. And this was a business that was going to do millions of dollars. But they just couldn't keep up because they sped up too fast and they didn't have the structure in place. And so that's something really important.
yeah.
You have
Exactly.
Willing to say no to opportunities. I think as investors, we can all say you gotta, like, it's not just, yeah, this can make money, but do you have the time? Is there
Right.
someone that you can can execute it for you? Sometimes the answer is no.
Exactly. And then you have to wait. You're better off waiting than,
Yeah, because otherwise you're gonna crash and burn.
Yeah.
And build, and like burn bridges along the way.
yes,
That is a waste.
100%.
Yep.
Awesome. This has been a good little talk.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So again, guys, hopefully you get some value out of just some regular deal talk about what we're doing, and hopefully as you watch some of the other content specifically based on the deals we're doing, you'll kind of get an idea that we're not just trying to talk about real estate. We're showing you the real estate investments we're doing. We're teaching you based on real experience. And for those of you who are looking to deal with professionals, you have a great team here, a resource you can reach out to directly. especially if you're going to be doing business in Tampa. These guys are experts and they're investors, so they'll definitely have the same perception that you have about the investments. But for those of you that are out of reach in your mind and saying, well, this all is great, we're talking millions of dollars in deals, I only got 50 grand, I can't do anything, just know that our organization is here not only to lend money, but you can also join us on the journey and invest in our fund for as little as $5,000. You can be in deals like the ones we're talking about today, and you can be a part of being a diversified investor in multiple different asset classes. So thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I love hanging out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for our Tulum trip. That's going to be, I'm
That's gonna
super
be so
pumped
much
about that.
We've talked about it all day.
I
It
know.
better be great.
Dude, I can't
It better
wait.
be fantastic.
So much to live up to.
Yeah.
I know. It'll be
You
awesome.
better have a good team in place.
That's it, bro.
Well,
You got
yeah,
it.
Plan. We just gotta execute.
That's it.
Yeah.
Bruno Mars is going to pick you up. Let's put it that
Oh
way.
my God, he's gonna sing too.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got the little moves and everything.
Yeah, no, I want
But-
like everything.
Oh.